Hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Tuesdays with Taylor. We are here in the beautiful Hempstead State Lake Park where we get to enjoy nature. We've been spending a lot of time here because we really can't go anywhere else. So I am here with our amazing Director of Community Affairs, the illustrious Melissa Figueroa. Melissa is a crusader for advocacy, education, immigration reform, and pretty much anything where someone is not being treated fairly. Her favorite words are justice and equity, and I felt like she was the perfect person to really educate us on school boards and the importance of voting for the right candidates on our school boards. Melissa, how are you today?
I'm really good, thank you.
Okay, so Melissa, first we're going to start with a word association exercise.
Okay.
In this exercise, I say a word, you say the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Okay, equity.
Injustice.
Voting.
Insufficient.
Children.
Love.
I like that. Love was my next word. Love.
Everything.
Everything. Nature.
Beauty.
Hope.
Esperanza.
Progress.
Desire.
Underserved.
Overwhelming.
Beautiful. Great job. And that really is a great segue into why we need to care and pay attention and be engaged in our school boards here on the island. In the city, we have mayoral control over the school districts. In Long Island, we have school boards. I forgot exactly how many school boards we have.
I think there's over 70.
Over 70, around 60,
School
70
districts.
school districts just here in Long Island. So that being said, we have these governing bodies. Each school district has a governing body that makes decisions and decides how budgets should be allocated and answer questions and hire the superintendent, amongst a lot of things. Melissa did serve as a trustee on a school board here on Long Island, so she has a plethora of knowledge and experience. And I really want you just to explain why do we need to care about our school boards? Why do we need to vote?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for having me to talk about that. It is probably one of our most important civic responsibilities to make sure that we vote, because our vote is our voice, right? And so all stakeholders in a community with regard to school districts really have to be concerned. It's really about everyone just making sure that they are expressing what it is that they want for their own community. And so with the school districts, what happens is folk can vote for who they would like to have represent them on a board, and that board makes all of the decisions with regard to your children. And our children, of course, are our most precious resource in life. And so it's so important that everyone in a community ensure that with their vote, we can arrive at equity and eventually really stabilize some of the injustices that we see in school districts. And right now in the 18th Assembly District, we just see far too much of that. We have incredible school districts in our 18th Assembly. And so, of course, it's wonderful to see that people are engaged in certain parts of our district and making sure that they get out the vote to express who they want representing them and their purse strings. But unfortunately, there's so many areas and so many school districts in our 18th district, not so many, there are a few, that really we don't see the voter turnout. And so elections are coming up for the school boards. These are the people who are making all of the choices to direct the administration.
Every day. Yeah, for our children's every day.
And controlling our purse strings.
Yes. So we like to say all the time, show us a strong school district, we'll show you a strong community. And I really do believe the reverse is true. So what are we looking for when we are voting for candidates? Who is a strong candidate for a school board?
So when someone gets elected, this person is going to receive the title of trustee. And that person receives that title because they are literally entrusted with the funds that are being provided by the taxpayers. And so it's so obviously important that the person that we are electing has a fairly good handle on fiscal responsibility and how to look at a budget and how to examine it and ensure that the budget is being carried out. So we want people to understand that this involves holding people accountable, right? So in every school district, again, a board could consist of maybe 5 members, maybe 7. this is a small number of people relative to the number of people in an entire district, which could be hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands at least. So, you know, it varies, but it's critical.
So I hear the fiscal responsibility, I hear the accountability. What are 3 traits that you would want in a candidate on a school board?
The first and most important thing, Assembly member, is that the individual actually has a love for the children, right? Our students are our precious, these plastic minds who are just have infinite potential to achieve the same great things that we want to see our kids do one day. They are our leaders, they're the future. So it's key that these individuals actually have a love for youth and secondarily, a love for education, right? So they have to have, you know, they should have a fair appreciation for education. In a perfect world, you know, we would be electing people to our school boards who are educated and thirdly, who have cultural competency and really understand a community, the community that they themselves are representing.
Definitely.
So those are the things I think really love and yeah.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I would have to say that integrity is also a very important trait for anyone serving on a board, anyone that we trust to make major decisions for our everyday. And then that transparency and need and desire to teach and communicate with everyone. And I think that is something that we get to do every day. We educate every day because I believe you guys have heard me say this before, applied knowledge is power.
Right.
I used to think knowledge was power. But no, if you have knowledge and don't apply it, then it's not powerful.
Right.
Applied knowledge is power. So from our preschoolers all the way to our 12th graders, all the way to our seniors, education and learning should never end.
Right.
So we really have to understand the importance of school board trustees and the support and encouragement they need from the community. I really feel like community engagement is so vital, and it starts with running for office or supporting and developing strong candidates. And then the most important thing is voting.
Right.
We have to vote. We have had some dismal numbers. And this year, because of the pandemic, for the first time ever, we are now receiving our ballots by mail. Everyone has to vote by absentee ballot for the school board trustees in the upcoming election on June 9th. June 9th, all ballots must be received by district clerks. June 9th at 5 p.m. All of them have to be received, right? So now you don't have to leave your home, essentially. Like when that ballot comes in, that has to be the most important piece of information that you work together as a family to decide who you want to make your everyday decisions for your littles and for all of us. If we do not have strong school districts, you will see how hard that impacts the community. We don't have a workforce if we don't have a strong school district. We don't have local businesses if we don't have a strong school district. And this is why the work is never done. Melissa, you have done...
The greatest fear on that note, Taylor, is that when we don't engage and when we don't vote and make sure that we're even voting in our local elections like school boards, then we're just ensuring that that in a place where perhaps your representation is not already doing the right thing. And we have to talk about school districts where, you know, there may be corruption or, you know, the people in a community are just unsatisfied. If they don't vote, you know, it's one thing to not be satisfied, but it's another thing to not engage. And so when we don't vote, then we're just completely ensuring that any potential corruption or malfeasance is perpetuated.
Amen.
And so we have to each take a good look at our situations in our own communities, in our own school districts, and say to ourselves, are we satisfied? Are we happy with this? And if we're not, it's very simple. The responsibility, the onus lies on each one of us.
Amen.
Right? So all we have to do is ensure that we receive that ballot in the mail, and that starts with, you know, the district clerk of any school district. And if you haven't gotten it, I would encourage every community member to give a call to your local district clerk and request the ballot if you haven't already received it, because we know that these things have to be back in. There are deadlines here, so there's great cause for concern when folk don't make their voice heard. So it can start even with a phone call to our local electeds. And I also wanted to mention that you yourself have represented your community as an elected person. And I could say, being the director of community affairs and speaking with so many people in the community, it's the transparency that you talked about earlier that folk can really respect and get behind. So
Yep.
when we see that happening in our government, specifically in our local governments, we want to hold on to that and make sure that we can foster that. And so when an elected person is representing you on your school board or at the state assembly, it's key that they actually represent the people.
Yep.
And so we want to make sure that the only way we can maintain this transparency is to get out the vote. We see the same thing happening in Nassau County with a new comptroller, Jack Schneider. The first thing he did was make an open checkbook to the community, right?
Exactly.
And that there is an action that demonstrates to the people the authenticity of the actual person that we are electing
Exactly.
to represent us in our community.
Exactly, and we cannot, that was perfectly stated, because we cannot represent the people if we are not available to the people, accessible to the people, and we don't listen to the people. I have to listen to the people that have entrusted me to represent them. And Melissa, this is all the time we have today. So let our people know what they need to know about this June 9th election. Close us
Sure.
out. What should they know?
Thank you. Yeah, I would just urge every resident and every citizen in the 18th district that it is really up to you, yourself, as the individual, to take the responsibility, ensure that you have your ballot in the mail. If you don't have it already, pick up the phone, call your local school district clerk. If you can't find the information, contact our district office. I'll be happy to help, happy to assist, ensure that we connect you with the right resources, and then make sure you get that ballot back to your district by June
9th, 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
June
Yeah.
9th. So guys, happy voting. Thank you for tuning in for Tuesdays at Taylor, and we will see you soon.
So long.